Moonshiners airs Tuesday nights on Discovery Channel, and the next one has a clandestine meeting out in the woods somewhere. Digger Mains and Mark Ramsey are keen on a deal, but tread with the utmost caution. A new bootlegger named Jesse makes Mark and Digger an offer they can't refuse on the next Moonshiners. Except the deal is a little too good and Digger and Mark are placed on high alert, as seen in our Covered Ops exclusive video posted below. Jesse is just a little too cocky with the numbers, and the guys see a few red flags out of the gate. Well, a shady-seeming deal, and a meeting is called in the woods. Producers and cameramen are staked out at a distance, capturing Jesse, who has asked for this meeting to be arranged from a Jamie. Digger and Mark are going to do a little due diligence to find out who all of these men are, and why they were roped into the deal in the first place. The gist of the meeting is about the cost of a gallon of their shine, which is dickered around a bit until Jesse says he will pay $250 per gallon, which takes Mark and Digger a bit back. Eric Digger Mains and Mark Ramsey are best buddies and business partners who each came to light on Moonshiners. Popcorn Sutton, who is considered a legend in the moonshining business, eventually became a mentor to Digger Mains. Mains has been around moonshine forever and isn't too concerned with the illegality of making it. He claims that he isn't trying to do anything illegal. In fact, he and Mark own a legal distillery called Sugarlands. Mark Ramsey grew up in East Tennessee exploring the woods and was exposed to moonshine from a local moonshine expert. He learned the trade through hands-on experience. The two have created 28 varieties of moonshine and an award-winning whiskey called Roaming Man. It has more than 11 awards to its credit. The flavors of moonshine run from chocolate to eggnog, and many are named after NASCAR racing events and legends. The sketchy deal between Jess and Digger and Mark is caught on a surveillance camera POV. Watch as they try to suss out Jesse. Also on Tuesday night, Mike and Jerry confront Daniel about how their rival's liquor is invading their territory. And Tickle, Henry, and Kenny ramp up their CBD-infused moonshine business. Moonshiners exclusive. Sketchy deal sours on Mark Ramsey and Digger Manson the world of moonshining. Where secrecy and the law are constantly at odds, not every deal ends the way it's planned. Behind every jug of clear liquor is a story that's often stranger than fiction, one filled with twists, turns, and the kind of risks that can make or break an operation. In this exclusive report, we bring you the inside scoop on an unexpected falling out that has rocked the world of Mark Ramsey and Digger Mains, two of the most iconic personalities in the moonshining world. Mark and Digger, longtime friends and partners, have spent years running their operation, making liquor in the Appalachian Mountains, where tradition and craftsmanship have lived for generations. But it wasn't always this way. Their relationship began with a handshake deal over some homemade shine, one that forged an alliance based on mutual respect for each other's craft. They quickly became one of the most recognizable pairs in the business, known for their impressive distilling skills and the trust they'd built in the community. For the most part, it seemed like smooth sailing for the duo, until things started to sour. It all began with an opportunity that neither of them could resist. A chance to expand. A shady investor, who we'll refer to as the broker, came into the picture with promises of serious cash and access to new distribution channels. The broker claimed to have connections in high places, including a few out-of-state buyers eager to pay top dollar for top-tier shine. It seemed like a dream come true, but as the old saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. The deal Mark was the first to get hooked by the promise of greater profits. With the operation growing and new markets emerging, he saw a chance to elevate the brand. Digger, however, wasn't so sure. He had always been cautious, preferring to keep things local and within their circle of trusted allies. He wasn't one to get too wrapped up in anything that might jeopardize their long-standing reputation. But Mark's excitement was contagious. He saw dollar signs, and with the broker's smooth talk, it didn't take much convincing. The deal was set. The broker would provide upfront capital for the expansion, covering the costs of new equipment, distribution networks, and even helping to fund a new secret location for their operation. In exchange, Mark and Digger would agree to give the broker a 20% cut of all profits, a hefty price to pay for the promise of prosperity. Digger reluctantly agreed, though he made Mark promise that they wouldn't sell out their community or compromise their values. It was a deal made over too much whiskey and too little thought. At appear in hindsight. The red flags from the start. Things felt off. The broker, though charismatic, was elusive. He had a way of getting Mark's attention, but never seemed fully invested in the day-to-day operations. He'd appear with fancy contracts, big promises, and even bigger ideas, but as time went on, Digger began to notice the cracks in the foundation. First, the shipments of moonshine to the new buyers started going wrong. A batch that should have been delivered in one piece ended up being damaged, and clients who had paid up front were asking questions. Then, there were the unexpected changes in the financial arrangements. The broker had promised that the cuts would be fair, but payments were getting delayed. What was supposed to be a mutually beneficial arrangement started to feel more like a trap. Digger, ever the skeptic, started digging into the broker's background. What he found raised even more concerns. The broker's connections turned out to be murky at best, and some of his previous business ventures had failed spectacularly, leaving a trail of angry clients and creditors behind. The broker had a reputation for making promises he couldn't keep, and Digger had just learned it the hard way. The tipping point be, the time Digger approached Mark with his findings, things were already starting to fall apart. But Mark, always the optimist, refused to believe the worst. He was still riding the high of the big deals they were making, and he couldn't bear to lose the momentum. The lure of bigger profits and expanded reach was too much for him to back away from. It wasn't until the broker made a surprise visit to their distillery that the situation came to a head. He'd arrived unannounced, claiming that a shipment had been mishandled. In the heat of the argument that followed, Mark and Digger learned something that shocked them both. The broker had been skimming off the top of their profits for months. He'd been moving moonshine behind their backs, cutting deals with other buyers, and not paying their share. This was the moment everything changed. Mark, finally seeing the reality of the situation, confronted the broker, demanding an explanation. The broker's calm demeanor faltered, and he tried to brush off the accusations, but it was too late. Digger was furious, and Mark's anger was equally palpable. They both realized that they'd been played, and it wasn't the first time. The fallouting next few days were filled with tension. The broker, realizing that the jig was up, disappeared as quickly as he'd arrived, leaving behind only a trail of empty promises and broken trust. But that wasn't the worst of it. The broker's sudden exit left Mark and Digger with more than just bad blood. They were left with damaged goods, money lost, relationships soured, and an operation in disarray. Digger was ready to cut ties completely, but Mark, still holding on to the hope that things could somehow be salvaged, suggested a different path. He wanted to continue working with the broker, to confront him and get the money back. Digger was having none of it. He felt betrayed on a level that couldn't be fixed with another round of whiskey and a handshake. The tension between the two friends reached a breaking point. Digger, his trust completely shattered, gave Mark an ultimatum. Choose between the deal and their friendship. Mark, torn between loyalty to his longtime partner and his desire to keep their business alive, hesitated. Ultimately, Mark chose to follow his ambition, even if it meant severing ties with Digger. The deal, he thought, could still be salvaged with the right connections and a little more time. But Digger, heartbroken and angry, couldn't stay on that path. He packed up and left, vowing never to return to the world of moonshining with Mark again. The aftermath months passed, and the fallout from the deal continued to reverberate through the Appalachian moonshine world. Mark's operation faltered without Digger by his side. The broker had vanished, leaving Mark to fend for himself, and the financial burden of trying to maintain the illusion of success was taking its toll. Meanwhile, Digger went into seclusion, keeping to his roots in the mountains. He returned to what he knew best: small, local batches of shine, made with care and sold only to people he trusted. It wasn't glamorous, and it certainly wasn't as profitable as the big deals had promised to be. But Digger found solace in simplicity. Mark, on the other hand, eventually came to realize what he'd lost. The flashy deals and ambitious expansion hadn't brought him the fulfillment he thought they would. In fact, they cost him his best friend, his reputation, and a piece of his soul. The broker had played both men for fools, but it was Mark who had paid the ultimate price. As the years passed, rumors swirled about the deal that had gone south. Digger and Mark became something of a cautionary tale in the moonshine community. Their falling out was a stark reminder that, in the